been a while since I've seen you people, and I really missed you. Just want to start. We're practicing really well, and as the season winds down, I'm trying to get more out of certain guys, and I think the guys are practicing as well as we have all year, so we're really excited the way we're playing basketball right now. Had a very good game against South Florida in terms of what we wanted to do offensively and defensively. Against St. John's, we weren't quite as good as I thought after watching the film, but against South Florida, we were.
What certain guys are you looking for more out of, and what kind of things?
I don't think it's as much more out of, like Shane, I'd like to see 80% of Shane's game against South Florida was awesome. And then there's 20% that sticks out where it wasn't. So we just want to get him to play. You know, he has like the talent of an Oladipo, believe it or not, except Oladipo plays every possession. Got to get him to play every possession. And it's not, that's very tough to do. But Shane's a very talented young man, so just want to get him playing that way all the time, because he showed signs of brilliance in that game.
Are there certain parts of the game that he's taking time off, so to speak?
I just think he works really hard, and guys take time off, and I tell him, let's get subs in for you rather than do that, and that's what we try to do.
You had a lot of high praise for Russ after the game as far as the way that he was able to get other guys involved, and he did pass. And is that a constant battle for you as far as making sure that he plays that way?
I think what makes this team go offensively, we all know that we're not a great three-point shooting team, but that doesn't mean we can't be an outstanding offensive basketball team. We just have to pass the basketball and create good ball movement, good player movement, and we can be a very good offensive team. And when Russ passes the ball, we are much, much better at the offensive end. And he knows that, he saw it, and we're just much better at it because of that.
Having the 6 days off, has that helped in terms of the home stretch, so to speak, and putting him in the mindset?
I don't think it helps or hurts. I think that we've had time to prepare. We do well when we prepare, and we're playing against a team that does a lot of different things defensively, so we have to be ready for it.
How big can Kevin Ware be to whatever you can accomplish this year, what he can give you defensively, and then he's also getting...
Well, I think Kevin's getting better. I think he didn't have an assist in the game, which bothers you because we did play him at the point. But he has a scoring mentality. Now he just has to learn how to set people up.
You said you wanted more block shots from Gorgie, and then he went out and got, 5 in the last game. Was it something he did in that game more different than he had been doing in games before? Or?
I don't think so. I think Gorgie's played well this season. I think he's I was just looking at the rules, and I was kind of flabbergasted by it because I haven't been in that situation. Rules of being, when the season ends, how much time. Normally the pros work guys out in May and June as you get ready for the draft. The way the rules are written, they're basically saying to the kids, we're just looking at the universities, we're not looking after you. Because they give you a window of 8th to the 16th. Then you can't miss school, and the pros are not really working out people then, so they're going to have to change their whole format because they're still alive. So I don't know who they changed those rules for. It certainly wasn't in the benefit of the young people, because you're giving them 8 days and you can't miss school.
Is it possibly an overreaction of college coaches to, some have...
Oh, it obviously was, because, look, we're in this business to look after the student athlete, not college coaches. So anytime you make a rule, you have to make it to benefit the student, not the coaches. And if you can't miss school, and you give it a 1 week, 8 day window, and the pros are not really thinking about working out people at that point in time because the season's still in effect, to me it's bizarre. I've never seen, and I haven't been studying that too much because this is the first time I'm looking at it, but how do you make a mature decision? You're going to make a lot of bad decisions.
How much advising have you had to do so far about that process and entering the NBA?
Well, we don't talk about it now. We'll wait we'll talk at the end of the season. But, it's very easy to advise a Gorgie Zhang, but at that point, it would be very difficult to advise a Shane Bohannon and Russ Smith. Say, pros don't want to work those two guys out at all. because they're worried about their season and they're not caring. I don't know where this all comes from. It's the most, I've been in this business 35 years, I've never seen anything as bizarre as that.
As a man in your position, how do you change the way that maybe you've gone about something like this as opposed to, what, 5-10 years ago?
Well, I'm going to address it obviously at the end of the year. Right now, we're at Seton Hall, but I'm just saying that at that point in time, with a player like Gorky, you know, the way I look at it, Gorky Zhang is, the way I've counted, he's gone. So he'll have to, you know, he's gone. In my mind, not in Gorky's mind. It's up to Gorky to make those decisions. But in my mind, and the reason I say that is just because I think A, he's ready. B, he has a lot of growth in basketball ahead of him because he hasn't been playing basketball that long. Pros don't look at it that way. They look at the fact that he's 23 going on 24. What they need to look at is the fact that he's only been playing 5 years and he has so much room for improvement. So I look at Gorky. Now, Gorky has to make his own decisions. You know, I'll advise him at the right time, but he has to make his own decisions. But I just found that today in studying that for the first time, how bizarre that is.
Has he talked to you about that at all?
We don't talk about
He isn't,
we don't talk
because-
about the pros at all. And I told them we'll address it after the championship game.
A situation where you could see yourself trying to talk him into it?
The one thing rule I have is I never talk my players in or out of anything. I get together with their families and I tell them, just like I said to Peyton last year, I said, Peyton, here's the feedback from the NBA. Not one person has you a first-round draft choice last year. Here's 13 of you have in the middle second, 2 don't have you getting drafted, 3 have you late second, so now you make your decision. I'm coming back. Same thing with T. Will, same thing with everybody else. So I just give them all the information from the NBA office and from the general managers. And then I don't advise anybody on anything.
You mentioned the other day that at this time of the year to peak to March, you players, you know, you give them a couple things to improve on. What is that with Gorky? What are the things you want to see him?
Well, Gorky has got to, he's a very good passer. He's got to figure out how to get his jump shot off more because he's a very good jump shooter, much better than you guys would ever imagine. So we're trying to get him in positions where he can take that shot without rushing it.
Is there a fine? I remember when Samardo was here, you used to talk about making a move quick, not feeling the guy and then.
Well, they're direct opposite
That
players.
doesn't apply at all to him.
Well,
Just moving
they're so
the post.
opposite. I think Gorky is better off front-facing in the post, like a Paul Pierce does. He's got more of a Kevin Garnett type of turnaround game, but I'd like to see him front-face more. But with all the guys, I've given them 2 things. With Russ, it's passing the basketball more, getting more guys involved. I talked about it. I said, look, if you're ever going to be a serious guy down the road in basketball, you got to be a better assist turnover guy.
Was that this week or was it before this week? You
Before
talked
this
about?
week.
Before this week.
What are the 2 things you gave Peyton to focus on?
I think with Peyton, more than anything else, is if you're not scoring, don't think I have to shoot now because I'm not scoring. A point guard should just let the game come to him. Some nights he may score 20, next night 4. As long as he's running the team, that's what you're interested in.
How close is he to the level he was at around the Big East tournament last year?
Well, I think that whole thing when he got on the run is because he now had people he could pass the ball to. He had people who could set the right screens. It's just a matter of getting healthy. So I think Peyton's had a very, very sound senior year. But I think he rises when the games rise. I think he's that type of player.
You mentioned Oladipo. I don't know how many of other teams you see, but one of the big debates is who's the leading candidate for Player of the Year. Who's stuck out in your mind around the country?
Well, like I said 2 weeks ago, I thought Indiana was the best team in the country. I thought he was one of the best players in the country. I couldn't make that judgment call who the Player of the Year is because I haven't seen the young man from Creighton. I know of him, I've seen him on clips, but I haven't seen him enough to make that. I certainly think that Oladipo would be one of the top 5 guys I've watched this year, but I haven't seen that other young man as well. So, but I did think 2 weeks ago, after watching Indiana for the first time, they were the best team in the country, and I think in everybody's mind now, after beating Michigan State, who was playing very well at Michigan State, they would be.
You're talking about Seton Hall, you faced them once last month and won challenges that they presented.
Well, it was 42-42, and then Luke made a couple of threes to break it open. I don't know if Luke will play tomorrow. He's questionable, but knowing Luke, for all of you, Luke is, you'll see Luke at times box a guy out, and he can't come up with the rebound because he can't lift his arms quickly enough to grab the rebound. Luke had probably the worst shoulder injury that Fred Heenan has ever seen. And he, just so you understand, Fred was with the New York Met organization for 30, so you see a lot of pitches with bad situations like that. He just taught every single thing. So Luke has been playing hampered by a bad shoulder the whole season. And in that game, he made 2 threes for us. So the good thing is that Wayne's back to healthy and playing good basketball right now.
He said he's questionable because of his shoulder.
He didn't practice today, he was questioning, he hurt his shoulder the other day in practice.
Are there any other injuries?
Just him.
What is the difference between the Wayne Blackshear that's like driving the basket, 18 points, and the quiet Wayne Blackshear? Can you notice something in his demeanor that changes that production?
I just think both guys, both Wayne and him, came off very serious injuries, and it just takes time. I mean, I think the greatest thing for you guys to watch is look at Derrick Rose. Look at, it's just with certain players, it's like we're recruiting someone right now that hasn't stepped on the court, he's coming back. It's the psychological as well as the physical, because when you have a shoulder injury, every time you do something, you feel it. But when you get to the point where you don't feel the movement anymore, then you know you're healthy, and then you go start doing things. And I'm seeing him do things just in the last 10 days that he hasn't done all season.
So for you, is it like, let's not even bring it up, let's not talk about it? Don't
Yeah,
even
because I know about it. I talk to the trainer all the time, and he said, Coach, you have no idea what Luke has to go through just to get ready for practice each day. So we're not going to see Luke Hancock at 100%, but we are going to see Wayne. Wayne's injuries weren't as severe as Luke's. The rest of the guys were very healthy, ready to go. We've had great practices. We scaled back certain things this time of year to make sure that we're well rested.
We could ask you about your former coaches on every game, it feels like. But with Kevin, what kind of a coach is he when you watch the tape?
Kev's going through this year what we went through last year with injuries. Just an incredible run of bad luck from an injury standpoint. Decimated like we were. We are now Mobley goes out. But Kevin is, look, you all know how great the coaches I've had have been. But Kevin is probably the best X and O man that I've been around at a young age, the best. And I thought his father was great. He's better than his father. He really is. And he's just got to battle his bad luck right now. And we get healthy at the end of the year. He's not going to get healthy. I mean, his guys are on crutches. His guys are out for the season, shut down. We got healthy at the Big East last year, and he's not good. So he's just got to stay upbeat, stay positive, and he'll be fine next year.
Did you like the way the substitution patterns worked out against South Florida? Do you maybe expect to kind of continue that sort of thing?
Yes, without question. Like I said, I didn't do a very good job against St. John's, and I think the guys were very fresh against South Florida, and I just have to keep developing confidence in our bench.
Your touchdown winning the final 7, you won the first 2. Did you do that to kind of set the bar for the guys? Or?
I was just trying to get them over that Notre Dame loss. Psychologically, that was tough on all of us. 5 overtimes when you were in control of every period except the last. And I just wanted them to think positively. Look, we are going to do this. Whether we do it or not remains to be seen, but it is a goal of ours.
In these last few weeks, what have you seen with their resolve, kind of growing, getting past those tough losses?
I think the last 3 years, even when we lost to Boyd, I think we just had a great time together. We're all very upbeat, very positive about what we can do. So I think when you have a great attitude for the whole year, and we never have fights in practice, we never have arguments in practice, so we just have a great attitude. And even when we lost that one year, it was just because of a bad injury to Preston Knowles. But it's been going really well for us. We're very excited.
Going back to Kevin Ware, how much more do you figure you'll use him at point guard moving forward?
I think the rotation you showed against South Florida was the rotation we'd like to have. We don't need Russ thinking too much. By that I mean we need Russ to be Russ. in order to be a great basketball team. And we'll move into a different position. Russ do this, Russ do that. You know, Peyton is a, you know, he's some commodity at the point guard position. He gets the guys into so many things that you would never notice, offensively and defensively. And you don't want Russ being bogged down mentally like that.
Is that the biggest difference with this team from last year when you had guys like Kyle and Chris, that Russ does have to be a scorer?
I think
now?
where we really miss Kyle and Chris is they were two older guys, you know, 23, 24 years of age, that shot the ball well from the three. We don't have that this year, but we do other things that those two guys couldn't do. You know, Kyle was a very good athlete, could run, jump, do a lot of things, very, very smart basketball player. Chris was very smart. So we may not have the, we don't try to confuse people like we did last year with this team. It's not what our makeup is. We try to, you know, pressure people into mistakes. Different guys, but all great guys.
What is the sentiment when we're talking about Russ? Rusticulous, claimed, I guess. We were all watching that. What happened?
You know, that horse is not worthy of that name. So we're very happy to bid goodbye to that horse.
Yeah.
Even though he's an extremely expensive horse,
Yeah.
he's not worthy of Rusticulous.
So you don't have to worry about the horse's feelings, so you can just...
No, you can catch Big East tournament, you'll find him in New York somewhere. That horse.
Yeah.
Coaches that like you have a prized recruit and maybe it just doesn't pan out and you help them find another school.
Very much so. We want to move that horse on to some Massachusetts fair races. And, no, it is that way. I've never been so happy to lose an expensive horse in my life because Russ and I talked about it before the race. I said, how do you feel about this horse going into a claiming race? He said, I don't feel good about it. I said, well, he's probably going to get claimed. And Russ said, I think it's time to move on, Coach. He's not worthy of the type of defense I play with. So I did talk about it. I don't know who claimed it, but I wish you luck with that horse.
I don't want to interfere with basketball questions, but since you are on the horse subject, could you talk about your Golden Sense is fixing to run in a little over, I guess March 9th or 10th. And,
What day is today?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to think too. But also, you have two other horses that are nominated for the Triple Crown. And
Who are they?
Avar and Gorgie.
And Gorgie. If Avar and Gorgie get on a Derby run, I think they're more on the Rusticulous run than they are the. No, I'm only kidding. You know, Jenny, I don't follow horses as much. I know when they run that day. Somebody called me up and said, Coach Rusticulous is getting ready to run. He's 2 to 5. And I just caught him losing in the stretch. That's all I can catch on TV, losing in the stretch. So I wasn't even aware of it. Avar and Gorgie. Gorgie's a big horse that Nick Zito's having a lot of trouble with getting him in shape. So what we've tried to do is, I have some people in there I know in Florida. We're running Nick instead.
Can you then comment on Golden Sense, who is top 10?
Golden Sense is the real deal. He's a legitimate horse. I was shocked. I didn't see this. My son told me. One of the newspapers did a dosage thing. Now, dosage, I guess, is an antiquated thing about how to measure whether a horse can go the distance. And we were like third. We were 1.87. And I was shocked at that because I thought we were out of a sprinting mare. So we can definitely get the distance. And if Golden Sense didn't win the Derby, I'd be extremely disappointed.
Coach, there was a report today that ESPN is going to match the deal that NBC Sports offered out for the Big East. Is that something, because ESPN, they tend to cover what they have. Were you worried at all that maybe in the year, in the interim, that you'd be there stuck in the Big East, that if you were on the NBC Sports Network or something,
I don't get good. I haven't thought about horses. I didn't think about the TV package. The only thing outside of basketball I thought about came up today when I mentioned about this thing. It was just because as I'm getting my assistant Andre McGee ready to put names in and get ready. I said, are you serious? You can't miss class? Are we on semester break the 8th to the 16th? Maybe that's it.
It is the
God forbid you would know. That's information. I'm sorry.
Spring break's probably the 4th.
No, it's the 8th. It's our
Spring
second
break
week.
is March.
It's the second week.
It's the 8th to the 16th.
Okay, so that helps us. That helps us. Yeah, so that we won't miss it. It helps us, but what about the other schools that aren't on that? You know, that would be a problem. Thanks. Kenny's getting ready to retire soon. Of course not. I'm a coach, though. They're your sports information. You should know about golden sensitive courses.
Do you kind of smile when you hear that the Catholic 7 are going to get $3 million per school per year, and the rest of the Big East that's left is only getting $2 million? Now basketball is in that one case trumping football.
I didn't know that. You mean with the new TV package?
The Catholic schools are making.
Next year we'll get more than the rest of us? 2 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I said to you many times, the Catholic schools should have done this, the non-football schools should have done this 3 years ago and been fed up with the whole thing. And they finally had the gumption and the nerve to do it, and I'm real happy for all of them, because what's gone on to me is crazy. I mean, and I use West Virginia as the classic example of how far they have to travel in all sports. And it's for years, we all pretended, the presidents of universities all pretended by their comments to say it's not about money. At least they finally stood up and says it is about money. It is about money. So I admire them for that at least, and say it is about money. And it really has to be about money. When you're at the University of Maryland and you're losing sports and you're losing so much money, it really has to be about money. Because you have to take in effect the welfare of all the other sports, and that's why they made that move. Even though they have a 75-year history with the ACC, they made the move because of money. So at least everybody's being very transparent and saying the real reasons of what it's all about. It is about money. And now that I'm happy for the Catholic 7. It sounds like it's a criminal thing. I'm very happy for the Catholic 7.
I don't know if you've been asked about this. I think it was like 2-3 weeks ago, someone said you were talking to Steve Nash after a game. What is there anything you could share with us, I guess, what you were asking or what the conversation was about?
I guess I can say it was about golden cents in the Derby.
He loves them.
Now, I've known Steve for a long time, and we were just talking about Earl Clark a little bit. We were talking about, how it was going with the Lakers a little bit. And I've known Steve for a number of years, and we were just making small talk.
Okay. So you weren't picking his brain about the pick and roll or anything like that?
No, I would love to if we had more time.
Yeah.
No. We've used him enough. We've actually used Steve in free throw shooting, as we've used for rebounding. We've used Steve at the foul line. Getting our guys to get in the routine that he gets. It's still after how many? 7? Anybody else?
By the way, spring break is the week of the Big East tournament.
It's not the 8th, the 16th.
March.
It's April 8th.
It's not April, it's March 11th through the 17th, it's the Big East tournament.
No, I'm talking about with the pros.
With the pros is then, but we're still in school then. So.
Oh, we are, so there's another one. Thanks. That's why they have phones. You knew he cheated. Ask him what costs more, Woodford Reserve or Lakers. What was the last? I'm sorry.
I think you were saying about Steve Nash.
Yeah, I had the guys look at Steve Nash's free throws when we were struggling a little bit, just to understand after that many years in the league, he still does the 2 faked free throws before he catches the ball, and he goes through that routine. And obviously with Montrez and with Shane, trying to get them in a rhythm of a routine that they could have.
How much can be worked on during the season? How much of that needs to be off-season?
With those two guys, we've got to get them shooting better, especially Montrez. You can't. What if Shane's in foul trouble and you're playing at the end of the game and they just run up and they just foul him? Yeah. Unless he starts improving, and it's a lot of it's psychological because he does shoot it better in practice. We're going to have to play Wayne at the power forward spot, and that's the next thing going into the tournament we will do is play Wayne Blackshear at the power forward spot.
So you've seen enough, though, that you think that at some point you could have confidence in him? You've seen enough in practice?
Montrez?
Yeah. In practice?
Yeah, in practice, but in games I'm not seeing it. So we've got
But
to.
he could get there.
I think so. I think it's just his form is not bad, you know, Shane's form is okay, you know, he doesn't miss it. You know, anytime you see a person shoot an air ball, his confidence is a little lacking at that point.
Because I go, like Terrence Jennings, he was really bad, and then he got to the point where, at some point. in
Well, he
that
was
season where
a
he felt
lot
like
older than Montrezl Harrell. Montrezl is a young guy, and, you know, his confidence is not great at the foul line right now, so we're hoping, but we are preparing come tournament time as we get ready to make some very serious changes if we don't see a drastic improvement in the next few weeks.
Do you have, like, I know some coaches will say, like, I won't foul, like, up 3, whatever. Do you have one about taking timeouts before plays end of games? Like, do you want them to play more, or do you want to start taking timeouts and maybe putting a play in towards the end?
You know, I think it depends. You know, it's almost like fouling the person, you know, with time. You saw it against Virginia Tech, where the man went in a little early and perfectly made it and got, you know, we're not a very good free throw blockout team. Shane runs to the rim too much, so I'm not the type of guy that believes in fouling. I am in timeout situations there. You know, some teams go to zone, so you've got to give them a zone play and a man play. But if you don't like what's being run or you want to run a specific thing, it depends on who you're playing, what the situation is, whether you call a timeout. I think every opponent's different in that regard. If you're playing against a team that's strictly man-to-man, then you could call a timeout in that situation. If you're playing against a team that makes, like Cincinnati, it makes it very difficult getting the ball in bounds on this, in certain situations. You've got to be careful there as well.
You had said, I can't remember which game it was, you know, we're going to look at who's going to have the ball in the situation. That was with Peyton, and then Notre Dame, it was Russ. Is that still under reevaluation, or do you think you know who you want to have the ball at the end of the game?
You know, I think, look, I think Peyton made a bad decision against Syracuse. But I'd want the ball in his hands because he's a great free throw shooter, as Russ is. But he can do a lot of things. He made the wrong move against Syracuse. 9 out of 10 times he makes the right move. So I would want the ball in Peyton's Seton's hands. Do it because he's the type of player that's going to look around and get it to other people. Probably if it's in Russ's hands, although at South Florida it did get to other people. I'd like to see Russ keep on doing that because definitely we're a better team, as I stated many times, when Russ passes the ball.
Yeah, and Peyton used to do that thing where he'd run up into the pick and roll end of the games and kind of get like a full head of steam, and it was almost, hey, I'm taking it in and I'll find someone.
Yeah.
Do you ask him to do that? Do you tell him?
Well, you remember that's mostly man-to-man.
Right.
Against Syracuse, it was a zone, and he had to come off the wide side of the floor in order to have options. Instead, the option he took, there was only one option, like the George said, is to shoot the ball. He had to shoot the ball at that point if he's going to take the short side of the floor. And he made a mistake, as we all did.
Good. Anything else?
I got one more question. Are you through naming horses after players?
No, I don't think that Russ Dickius is deterring me from that disappointment. Has not gotten me down in the dumps, Jay. Not at all. I am going to name other players. I have a young man who I went to see play the other night at a JUCO game. That was that was as much fun as I've had going recruiting in a long, long time. I saw a young man, the most competitive young man I've seen in probably 30 years. And that was a lot of fun. So I may name a horse after Chris, depending on how well he starts out. But I've got to wait for him to get here to do that. I think there's a JUCO rule that you can't name him after. Who's that?
Kenny.
Kenny. Yeah. Yeah, well, you know, I should name a horse.
Good name.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Thanks for putting that thought in. See you, thanks.
Thanks.